While detractors of the Acolyte have often pushed back on supposed culture warriors for putting too much onto the Acolyte, Leslie Headland insists that no, this entire thing is about pushing agenda. Let's talk about that here on That Park Place. Hello, I am Jonas J. Campbell, an investigative reporter for That Park Place, and here with me is Wookiee Jedi, Mr. VashSky. Vash, would you like to be the Kel Naka to my soul?
As long as I'm not possessed, I think I could do that.
Well, I mean, you sign up for the gig, Vash. What more do you want here? That being said, let's go over to this article from That Park Place. Leslie Headland admits she's using Star Wars and the Acolyte to push discussion on gender norms. It's so wildly intentional. Look at her right there. There is some dude. There is Alan Berkman. There's Kathleen Kennedy, Leslie Headland, the former assistant to Harvey Weinstein. And this is Asad Ayaz, who is the chief marketer for the Walt Disney Company. I have to wonder if he loves Leslie Headland or if she is the bane of his existence. Let's continue on. Leslie Headland, the showrunner of The Acolyte, confirms she's using the show and Star Wars to push discussions on gender norms. Look at those gender norming rompers that she's got on right there. In an interview with Collider, Headland was asked about the show's approach to gender norms by Maggie Lovitt. Well, does Maggie love it? Let's continue on to find out. After confirming there is a possible romantic relationship developing between the characters of Osha and Qimir. Is that really where we're going with this? That Headland dubs Oshamir. Oh, lovely. A relationship that somehow forms after Osha watches Qimir brutally murder her Jedi compatriots in front of her. And then he takes a bath. Nevertheless, Lovitt asks, speaking about costumes and symbolism, what costume? He wasn't wearing a costume in that one scene. I love how this shit plays with gender norms. You have this flowy outfit that Qimir has on, and Osha is a mech. Oh, are we calling that a mech? Are we just literally misspelling mech as in short for mechanical? Okay. I see people starting to pick up on that a little because she's so femme-coded. Oh, is that where we're going here? And his clothes and the fact that he's cooking for her and he's very soft-spoken, and then you have her wearing the pants and being like, I'm going to kill you. I'm going to shank you. What did I just read? Headland responds, it's so wildly intentional that I don't know what to say. So is she literally saying that Qimir is wearing a dress and that she's wearing pants? So this is how they're pushing against gender norms? I mean, if this is the best that side of the culture battle has, that's weak sauce. First of all, he's obviously got an Eastern influence in his wardrobe, and she just looks like a random person who happens to be in a quote unquote space uniform here. That's so weird.
I don't know where in the world. I mean, I didn't know that they were going to be combating gender roles literally. I always thought figuratively, but no, she's taking it in the very literal sense, which I guess John actually alluded to. John F. Trent, that is, at That Park Place, alluded to that she thinks that the Anakin being seduced by the dark side was like a literal seduction by the dark side. So I guess
she was very on the nose with that idea of Anakin being seduced by the dark side of the Force. And this is what we say when we say that they are actually destroying some of what existed by retelling it in the same way that Captain America Winter Soldier makes Captain America the First Avenger a better movie. In the same way, when you think about the Acolyte, it makes the prequels worse than they were. Because if we're trying to say that Anakin was seduced by the dark side of the Force and it's a literal seduction, that makes you look at Palpatine in an entirely different way, in a much more fabulous way, if I could say so myself. She would then go on to elaborate. It's so clear what's going on. So anybody that's picking up on it, congrats, awesome. But again, the dynamics had to be what they are after what he did in episode 5. He cannot seem like an alpha male intimidating. We know he's capable of that from 5, but that cannot be his dynamic with her. It wouldn't make sense. Vash, don't you agree? It wouldn't make sense, and it's definitely better and much more sensical what we got.
No, not good, not good at all. Also, too, the robes comment. I was just thinking about this right now. That is kind of what Sith or Dark Jedi wear. They wear kind of like robes.
They wear dresses, obviously.
I mean, is what Kylo Ren wore was a dress, because his fashion sense is very similar to his. This is so bizarre. Yeah, let's not have an alpha male. Let's go ahead and have, I don't know, the emo kid that I grew up with, I guess.
This is the strangest. I mean, I get it that there's a part of this whatever you want to call it ideology that likes to push against gender norms, but this seems again so beta of a way to do it. Next headline detailed, but also this is again this is a story of the bad guy. So unlike Rey and Kylo, where Rey is always in these lighter colors and he's in black, and then Sith would be in white, and the character really that's struggling with both sides would be wearing gray. So on the nose, it just seems like it had to be that way. She concluded. Now, if you think that she's not trying to break down the Jedi as a concept, I would bring up a different article to try to refute that, and it's this one right here from John F. Trent. Leslie Headland admits the Acolyte is about breaking down the Jedi as a concept. Oh my goodness, what are you people doing? Why are you trying to destroy one of the best sci-fi franchise? Sorry, science fiction fantasy. It's more fantasy with a sci-fi overlay. The Acolyte showrunner Leslie Headland admitted that one of the main purposes of the show is to break down the Jedi as a concept. Again, Maggie Lovitt and Collider. Man, Maggie Lovitt, you are not helping Leslie as much as she thinks that she should be talking to you. For you as a fan of Star Wars, how much fun has it been to get to pick apart these ideas that have been baked into the franchise for so long and flip the narrative? They're flipping the script, a little bit, and make people look at things from a very different point of view. Headland responded, oh, I can't wait for it. I hope it's making people look at it from a different point of view. I can understand that fans, especially people who don't know the High Republic, which is a majority of people because the High Republicans went over like a soggy fart in church, may feel like I'm criticizing the Jedi as they exist in George Lucas's oeuvre, meaning the prequels and episodes 5 through 6. And that's not the case. We're so much further back from that. We're in that era that Obi-Wan is talking about in A New Hope. We're in that period where the proliferation of power is so huge and far-reaching. Actually, in the next episode, you're going to see how far-flung particular missions with the Jedi are and the lack of oversight, she attempted to explain. However, in a follow-up question, we get a little bit of a tease of that here in this episode with the whole thing about Ryan Court talking about doing this audit of the Jedi Order, which I think is great. Who doesn't love an audit? And it's very true to where George Lucas was approaching things in the prequels, which is very political, very much a response to that dynamic of the Jedi. So comparing these Jedi to the Jedi in the prequels is a little difficult because it's 100-ish years. It's a century. So you see Venestra's like, we cannot let this happen. She gets more and more concerned about that at the end of the season, rightfully so, because she is a very powerful Jedi Master, can sort of see what's on the horizon, whereas when we meet the Jedi in the prequels, they're completely enmeshed at this point. I'm so tired. I'm so tired of all of this. I don't know. There needs to be a clear jumping off point. I think with Star Trek fans, the start of Discovery was actually a really good jumping off point for most of them because it's a completely different timeline. It is very far from what was done. They're doing some callbacks, but it's a whole different style there. Obviously, Picard season 3 kind of stands out from the rest of the pack, but for the most part, they're staying away from the Next Generation. They're going into the original series or a little bit before the original series, and they're doing things that are so far removed. Here with Star Wars, I feel like everything is somehow set at different eras, but also set at the exact same era at the exact same time. Vash, has Leslie Headland done a good job on The Acolyte?
Oh, I mean, I guess as good as a job that you can do with such poor material. If only those writers. Oh wait, it was Leslie's as well. No, she's done a very poor job, unfortunately, and okay, so she's, I guess, inspired by the High Republic series and how they may have subverted the Jedi. So let's go ahead and include that into the Acolyte, which I guess, given the timeline, I guess that makes sense. But she says far removed from Phantom Menace and that era of the Jedi. It's only like, what, 100 years? I mean, Ki-Adi-Mundi is still alive. So,
right. We're not supposed to care about Ki-Adi-Mundi, Vash. Noticing that he is from the prequel trilogy, that's a bad thing. We're supposed to see him and then move on.
Yeah, and this subversion of the Jedi, taking them down again. George, I think, or Lucas, that is, did it in a way which had a lot of nuance, conveyed a lot of nuance, and there was like a reason for it, right? Obviously, the Jedi kind of lost their way because they hadn't had conflict in 1,000 years or maybe 100 years, depending on where we're at right now, and so they had been kind of oh, I don't know, they've been set in their ways a little bit. Formality and tradition, it was prioritized over like helping the galaxy and being the peacekeepers of the Jedi, I believe, were, or at least a lot of fans had that connected with their minds. And also, too, the dark influence from Palpatine at that time also influenced them. So it kind of like made sense. It was like, okay, we get it, right? To show them as completely incompetent, even before that point, really takes the Jedi down a couple of pegs. And it's not being done in the way that, if you were to do it, requires nuance. It requires a way of doing that to where it's believable. And that's just not being done here.
Right. Why is it the High Republic if the Jedi aren't even that established at this point? If they're clinging on to power and corrupt, if that's the implication that they were clinging on to power and corrupt in the prequels, was there an era when they weren't a bunch of idiots? I don't think that they've done a very good job of creating anything here that makes the Jedi look good in any way. The heroes of the entire series, they're supposed to be paragons, and instead it's the Sith. They're doing a deconstruction of something that they never constructed in the first place. Now, that being said, we want to throw this to our commenters. Can we now put to rest the idea that this is not agenda-driven? Obviously, the entire argument here, when LESLYE Headland was laughing about how it's the gayest Star Wars show ever, I think she was laughing. That doesn't mean she was joking. Even though it was a joke, I think she was completely serious. Let us know your thoughts in the comment section down below. And of course, if you don't mind, maybe you can hit that notification bell so that you can be notified as soon as we release a video. And consider subscribing to That Park Place for all the news that should be fun.
Thanks for watching That Park Place News. For more information, consider checking out www.thatparkplace.com. And don't forget to subscribe, share, like, and send this out on your favorite social media accounts.